All right. Well, should we jump into some news? Talk about all
Sure,
things
let's
that
do it.
happened in the last 7 days or so. So we got a new apostle. I don't know if you heard.
Yeah, yeah.
Was this? Did
I
you have? I know we're not supposed to guess, but everybody guesses. Was he in your top three? Elder Case.
Elder Stevenson was the presiding bishopric member. No, he was the presiding bishop itself before becoming an apostle.
As the cold winds of winter sweep in, there's nothing like the warmth of a comforting cup to help you slow down and unwind. This is the season. Let Postum be your cozy companion. Made from roasted grains, Postum is caffeine-free and rich with a smooth roasted flavor. It's the perfect drink for those quiet, chilly mornings. Whether you're curled up with a good book, sharing a laugh with loved ones, or simply watching the snow fall outside, a cup of Postum is the moment you have been waiting for.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of This Week in Mormons. It's me, Kurt Frankum, your very irregular host, and but I'm back, and you don't get to hear from the Twim sisters or the Twim siblings. You just get to hear from the Twim guy, and I got a friend here. His name's Luke Hansen. What's up, Luke?
Hey, doing good. How are you, Kurt?
Very good. Now you are like this personality that's popping up all over the internet. Like, how do you describe, like, because you have a YouTube channel, but you kind of have a home base that your primary home base online?
Yeah, it's I don't even know anymore. I like it all started by me doing stuff with Ward Radio,
Uh-huh.
but now I do thoughtful faith stuff. I have my own channel. I've gotten somewhat big on X, and so I just talk about things. It doesn't really matter where. I just talk about them.
Yeah, you're
So
always open for
that's
an
me.
invitation to come talk, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, do you identify as an apologist for the church, or is
I
that a
think so.
charged title?
I think so. I kind of made my bones going back through the past and finding all these old like evangelical debunks of the church
Uh-huh.
and bringing them out. Yeah, anything that had over 200,000 views on YouTube, I kind of brought it to Word Radio, did research,
Uh-huh.
and those seemed to be like the first popular debunkings of some big YouTube videos that were out there. And now other people have started to do them, but so yeah, I consider myself an apologist because that's kind of where I came from, was doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And did that just become a hobby like during your mission, or when did that become
No,
something that you're
my
interested
my hobby was politics,
in?
and just that intersection between those two things at BYU kind of inadvertently drew me over into doing all this stuff with Word Radio. So
Oh, nice. Nice.
Cardin just called me one day. I barely knew the guy. We had talked
Uh-huh.
a little before and was like, "Hey, you should make clips of this stuff and bring it on the show, and I'll fly you out." I was like, "Oh, I'm okay,"
Here we
and
go. Huh?
and yeah, off to the
Nice.
races from there. Rest
Nice.
is history.
Yeah, we both know Cardin, and I think Ward Radio is they get a bad rap at times, like generally with some audiences. And what how would you like just being more familiar with them and the people involved? Like, how would you describe the Ward Radio crew?
Uh well, the crew is very eclectic. I mean, it ranges from scholars like Don Bradley and Jerry Grover, who have both done at least 10 episodes probably on there, to just kind of like some bros shooting the breeze on a live stream, answering super chats and making jokes.
Yeah,
Like it's just it's very and the group just kind of keeps getting bigger and bigger of people that he brings on. Our group chat just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So it's just a little bit of everything.
yeah, yeah. And they definitely, I mean, they've got some great, just marketing in general. I mean, they know how to get me to click on something, and that's a lot of times it's interesting conversations. Other times I'm like, I don't even know what we're talking about.
Well, that's the
That's
thing. You'll be able to find something you like. You'll also be able to find something you don't like. And
right.
so if you're not, I don't want to act like people are snowflakes or something, but if watching a
Yeah,
channel that has stuff you don't like on it is not your thing, then you're probably not going to like Word Radio
yeah, yeah, yeah.
overall.
Yeah, and I remember there was one episode just a few weeks ago. I don't know if you were on it, where the guy came on and talked about like swords in the scriptures for like
Yes,
3 hours.
yeah.
Were you on that one?
Uh-huh. Yep, Shadiversity.
Yeah, like I didn't even know who this guy was, or that he's got quite a following all about
Mhm.
is it like fantasy and swords and all sorts of things. And he
Yeah.
happens to be a Latter-day Saint, right?
Yep.
That's
Mhm.
cool. Yeah, really, really cool guy. I did listen to some of it, but I was sort of like, all right, I'm good. I got my fill of swords in the scriptures. So
Yep.
yeah, but good stuff. Now recently you were on is it called On Planks and Pieces? Is that what you were on?
Yes. Yeah.
So tell
Um,
what is that and how that come about?
yeah, it was a new YouTube channel, and the guy in his first video titled his video something like "I'm leaving Protestantism, maybe."
Oh wow.
And he just went into all these issues that he had with especially kind of modern evangelical Protestantism that he'd been a part of, and it took off. It got like 88,000 views, something like that. And just the kind of critiques he was making led several people to comment on the video, oh, you should check out the Latter-day Saints. And so in his next video, it wasn't the focus of the video, but kind of as an aside, he said, and I know some people talked about Mormonism, nah, Joseph Smith was a con man, like not doing that. I'm even going to make videos debunking you guys in the future. And just some of the stuff he said led me to reach out to him and say, hey, I've done this stuff a lot, like criticize the church, that's fine, but at least do it in an informed way, because there's definitely your more informed critiques and your less informed critiques. And sometimes YouTubers just kind of go for the less informed, low hanging fruit, but not
Yeah.
very factual critiques of the church. And to his credit, after the Charlie Kirk assassination, he reached out and was like, "Hey, we should like talk to each other. We can do an episode." And he said it was going to be on Our Mormons Christian, and it ended up being a 3 hour long marathon of
Yeah.
him very charitably. He wasn't
Yeah.
super debating me on stuff, but just kind of asking a ton of different things. And I felt, man, I was physically exhausted after it. We were going everywhere, like metaphysics to Book of Mormon, archaeology and history, to the nature of God, to like all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Explicating Matthew 16 and the great apostasy is, but it was a blast. And people have really, I think he discovered that if you make a video of Latter-day Saints and evangelicals or other people talking to each other, it's almost exclusively Latter-day Saints that watch it.
Yeah.
Kind of like Pastor Jeff figured out.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
yeah, just overwhelming members of the church really appreciating the discussion that we had.
Well, yeah,
So,
and I listened to all 3 hours. I mean, I did speed you up a little bit, but,
oh,
um,
I speed me up too. I
yeah,
sound way smarter at
I know, me
two
too.
times
That's
speed. Yeah,
hopefully
yeah,
people
it's
listening to
crazy.
this, speed it up, folks, because it gets
Yeah,
much bit more
yeah.
entertaining.
If you're doing one speed, like at least go up to 1.25. 1.35 is my happy
Yeah.
place.
I've
But
had some people meet
yeah,
me in person, and they're like, it almost sounds like you have a brain injury or something." Like, "No, this is just how I talk in real life."
it's just real
So
life.
yeah, like, you can't speed me up. So, but yeah, I was really I really enjoyed it, and it's like one of those things, like, I don't know if a general audience is gonna sit down and, pop some popcorn and really dig in, but man, I mean, you can see that you held your own for sure, and you were I mean, he was coming at you with all sorts of things that, and again, not in a debating fashion. I thought he treated you very fair, and, he was kind in all of it, but, yeah, but you did great. So we'll link to that so people can check it out.
Yeah.
So
My favorite part was about an hour in where we were talking about the great apostasy, and I brought up several points in a row. And he kind of sat there for a second and then said, "You know, it's nice talking to you because I haven't really talked to an informed LDS apologist on these topics before," which I took to be another way of saying these arguments are really good and I haven't heard them before, and I was not expecting this from this conversation. So
yeah. Yeah, I
that
think
that felt good.
one of my favorite parts was when I think, near the end, he asked you something about how, like, the prophetic mantle of Joseph Smith, like, required for you to maintain your faith in Mormonism or
Oh,
whatever,
yeah,
something
yeah.
like
He
that?
was trying to say like, "I'm Jesus only, but you need Joseph Smith and Jesus to be
Uh-huh.
true."
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
kind of like you have a
Yeah,
higher burden of proof that you don't meet or something like
yeah.
that.
And
Yeah.
then you're like, "Do you need Abraham?" Right. And again, it was done in a good nature, and, you weren't, getting after each other, but, and then because yeah, that's always the thing that comes up when people bring up, like, the scripture about, the false angel, or what's the scripture that, like, if a
Oh, Galatians 1:8. Though we
yeah.
are an angel from heaven preach to you another gospel
Oh,
other than
yeah.
that which ye have received, let him
Yeah.
be accursed.
And then
Yeah.
but nobody turns to Paul and being like, "Well, what about that angel? Like, how do you know that
Yeah.
angel's not legitimate?" Right? Well, because it's in the Bible. But yeah, who wrote the Bible? Well, Paul. Yeah, it's like, anyways. So, but really good discussion, and,
Thank you.
people should check it out. And then your home base on YouTube is Doctrine and Governance, right? And this is where your politics neck comes out, right?
I still like to do church stuff a lot, but I also like more of not just politics, but the intersection of the political, the religious, and the cultural.
Hmm.
And so that is my YouTube channel, and I have an episode coming out very shortly on immigration that I've already recorded with
Nice.
another guy, kind of
Nice.
debating back and forth a bit. So, yep.
Cool. Cool. So as an apologist, I have this question before we launch into some news is, just going through listening to that 3+ hours, um, he brought he brought up a lot of the typical tropes and things that you hear, but then, he not that it was new stuff to me, but it was like, oh, he's being very thoughtful and he's not just like, trying to dismiss us on the surface. What would you say, like, and I'm not trying to like, stimulate doubt or anything here, but what do you feel like out of all the arguments against the church, what is like the best one? Not that it doesn't have answers or reasons, but what's
hmm
the best argument that Protestants or maybe somebody outside our faith has about our faith?
Yeah, from the Protestant perspective, It's the Protestant perspective, I think, has some of the weakest arguments. They
Hmm.
fall prey to a lot of the arguments they make and they don't realize it. But their strongest one would probably be in the Book of Abraham or even Book of Mormon archaeology specifically to an extent. The problem is they always, with the Book of Mormon, they try to limit it to the archaeology and let's not talk about the other stuff. Let's just keep it in. We haven't found a Nephi was here or welcome to Zarahemla in the dirt. And so
Yeah,
Book
yeah.
of Mormon debunked. So I think those are their strongest arguments. If you move over to something like the Catholic or Orthodox, I would probably say that the great apostasy is their strongest one on
Hmm.
like on a faith claim basis. The Protestants have the problem of like basically affirming the apostasy, but then saying, but don't worry, like we're going to read the scriptures and figure it out and everything's fine, which to me
Hmm.
doesn't work very well, but that's what they go with.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. And we both have a friendship with Pastor Jeff, and
Mhm.
it's been an interesting journey for me. And some people have been critical, like, that he's a wolf in sheep clothing, that he's trying to lead people out of the church. When that is, I've been very close to all the things he's doing. I've never picked up on any of that, um, but one thing, like, it has, it has led me to what you might frame as a faith crisis, but not a faith crisis of our theology, but more of like the Protestant
On
theology.
his behalf.
Yeah, like, and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah.
and love the guy, and we go back and forth, and we recognize where we disagree, but like one dichotomy, um, or almost like I don't know, like one thing that's come up is like obviously they have like this rich tradition and theology about the love and grace of God, right? And
Mhm.
just this overwhelming love of God. Like you go into their services and you will feel that love of God. And I love just being in that place and worshiping God, in their way, because it really does open up that love of God, right? But then, like, as I talk to them about the nature of God and things, I'm like, I feel like, man, like as Latter Day Saints, we're missing it because we believe we literally have a father, like He is our literal father, that looks like us and has arms and can hug us, and where there's more of like, well, these are just like terms we use to kind of connect it to our mortal, um,
Yeah.
our mortal understanding, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, like, you don't believe he has gender? Like, you don't believe he literally is a father? He's like, "Well, yeah, he's our father, but I mean, it's more like this, it's more of like we are to God like ants are to us, right? Like, but no, like you got to relate with him." So I've sort of like had this faith
Yeah.
crisis of being like, "I thought you guys were closer to us." Anyways, but
It's
bless
yeah,
their heart.
it's true, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, they usually think that their nature of God propositions are their strongest uh, attack against the church. That's one of the go-tos, but
Mhm.
it's not because it's mostly just based on like an appeal to popularity. Like,
Yeah.
well, Christianity has believed this for at least 300 years, and it doesn't directly contradict the Bible. So like, and they can. I don't think they know how much they're just assuming
Mhm.
the past 1700 years of church history must be correct, and therefore Mormonism wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I turn to our people. I'm just like, you guys, you got to understand how good we have it, like how
Oh
beautiful our
yeah,
theology is, and what was I going to say? Anyways, yeah, just sort of that, like there's so much here where we have it backwards. So I guess what I was getting at is that Protestants have such a rich, deep belief in the love of God, and we have such a rich, deep belief in a Father. But like we should, because of that belief, we should be the one with a rich, deep belief about God's grace and love and everything. But over here, we kind of be like, yeah, we believe he's a father, but he's kind of just disappointed in us all the time, like no, that we can do better at maybe articulating our theology. But and it makes me realize like just how much like just how much Joseph's restored for us and how beautiful it is. And another thing that kind of twerks me at times where, and I'd be interested in your perspective, where oftentimes we're trying to convince like the general Christian world that we're Christians, of course, but that we're just another denomination, right? And I was invited to a conference to be on a panel with Pastor Jeff, and this is one thing I clearly stated. I said Joseph Smith was not aiming to restore a denomination. He was aiming to restore a church. But so often we get in this mode of being like, no, like we're like you, we're just a different denomination. Like, well, no, we are Joseph Smith, and God's intention was to restore his church, not just like the cool Mormon denomination of his greater church, anyways.
Mhm.
And we sometimes miss it where we're so concerned with getting a seat at their lunch table when we're like, guys, we're doing something so much bigger than just trying to find a place in Christendom. But
Yeah.
anyways.
No, it's so true. And it gets so confusing because for them, the term like Christianity means people who are all of the same faith that are all saved, basically, or at least should be saved if they actually follow it.
Mhm.
Whereas, and we say that too, but it's you can be in Christianity and outside the true church, because any level of discipleship in Jesus Christ is Christianity, and we've kind of got the more tiered view, and so we're coming into it with more of like a tiered view, and you can be in this tier but not in this tier, and they're seeing it a little more black and white, and so anytime we try to say, well, we're not on your team, sometimes it gets taken to mean, well, we're not in Christianity at all.
Mhm.
And then sometimes when we try to say we're the same as you, they think that we're trying to say that they're like, Why are you saying you're Christian if you think that we're wrong?" It's like because that's not what Christian means.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It means that you're following Christ, not necessarily that you're under the authority of His true church. But
yeah, yeah. And that's
and
where
then you
the
kind of go
whole
around and around,
yeah,
and
that's where it just gets stupid, is because we're just trying to argue over what a word means when it's like, well, there's I think we're trying to have a meaningful conversation above that, right?
yeah,
So, well, hopefully, the Twim audience gets a, a flavor of Luke's content, and we'll check out some of those links. But anything else that you want to plug or thing you're involved in, or what
uh,
describes Luke?
well, I will plug Jacob Hansen is doing a debate in Utah on the 19th on the Great Apostasy
Oh,
with
really?
one of the top Catholic YouTuber slash apologists. Yeah, Joe Heschmeyer.
I love
I don't
listening
know
to
if
his
he's
thing.
put out
Yeah,
specific dates, but they did just pin it down, nail it down, and so I assume I can start advertising it now.
that's cool.
So,
That's awesome.
especially you, since you're in Utah, you should check it out. The people
Yeah,
around you should check it out.
cool. Love it. And you're in Texas for those listening, right?
Yes, yes, I
Cool.
am.
Love
But I
it.
will be going to the debate.
Oh, you will be there.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Nice. Nice. Um, all right. Well, should we jump into some news? Talk about all
Sure,
things
let's
that
do it.
happened in the last 7 days or so. So we got a new apostle. I don't know if you heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was this? Did
I
you have? I know we're not supposed to guess, but everybody guesses. Was he in your top three? Elder Case.
well, Elder Stevenson was the presiding bishopric member. No, he was the presiding bishop itself before becoming an apostle. And so he was definitely on the short list. I just thought he was too old.
Hmm.
And I looked at it. He's been the presiding bishop for 11 years. So it just feels like he's been in there a long time. He was about to leave.
Yeah.
He's 62, which looking back, I guess these days isn't that old for an
Yeah. It's probably about
apostle.
average,
But
right?
yeah, but even when people like Nelson and Oakes were getting called, I think the average was more in like the high 40s, low 50s. So it seems to be getting pushed later and later. And so 62
Yeah.
is actually not that far out. And I was completely wrong to just kind of go, nah, too old, been in too long. Look at someone else.
Yeah, yeah, and it makes sense because every so often they do call, like, I think Elder Hales was the presiding bishop, or was a presiding bishop before he
Yeah,
was
that
called,
sounds
and
right.
then President Eyring was in the bishopric, I think, with Bishop Hales back in the day. But so yeah, I mean that is sort of a typical place where they pull people from. So I had a unique experience specifically with Elder Casse this week. Is he came to my sacrament meeting this past Sunday.
Oh, nice.
So his daughter happens to be in our ward, and so I get any. Of course, it was fast testimony meeting, but he got up at the very end, to give sermon remarks, and he said, "The reason I'm here is I live in Draper, and they have state conference today, and they ask us as a general authority not to attend state conference if you're not assigned to attend." And so I needed a place to go.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I came to church. So yeah, he had there was no reason or business. He was just there hanging out, presiding over the meeting. And I leaned over to my daughter. He said, "See that guy? He's the presiding bishop, and there's a very good chance he could be the next apostle." And so when
Nice.
my kids found out, it was sort of like, "Oh, that guy," it was a little bit more familiar to them. But yeah, so Elder Casse, Frenchman, and I was thinking how often do we get an apostle that speaks French? And then I was reminded Elder Anderson was a missionary there and a mission president, so he speaks French, but definitely the first native French speaker, maybe in the apostleship. So
I think so.
yeah.
Some of the people from Canada might have also been French speakers,
Right.
but
Yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
So, because now we've
Back in
got
the
how
day,
many
right?
countries? We've got England, Germany, France, Brazil. I always forget if Elder Gong is actually, no, he was born in the US, I
I think
think.
he's born in the
He
US.
just has a very deeply Asian
Yes,
heritage.
yes.
So we'll say they come from like 5.5 different countries.
And then Elder Renlund, he was born.
Was he born in Sweden or?
Yeah, I think Swedish was his first language. So
Okay.
I could be wrong, but
Mhm.
anyways, he definitely brings something there. It does surprise me. I mean, obviously we have Elder Suarez, which makes sense with such a huge Brazilian membership in our church. But the fact that we've come this far and we have so many even European apostles that we haven't had uh, Latino, like a Spanish speaking Latino with that's their first language,
Mhm.
when the church is so big there. I know, President Christofferson speaks Spanish. I'm sure there's a few others, but yeah, so it's just interesting to see, the representation there and the ways, because I'm sure I can't imagine being, to me, it was sort of this weird experience, somewhat similar when, Pope Leo was put in
Mhm.
place, and
Mhm.
here he is an American. To hear it like a pope, like just speak American English was
Yeah.
sort of like
Yeah.
weird. Like you're kind of supposed to be this, mystic figure that kind of has the strong accent, and you're just like, I'm from Chicago. Like, what's up? Like, anyway, so
Yeah.
it's probably a big deal, like for French saints to hear an apostle speak so fluently as their, first language. So that's cool.
Mhm.
That's cool. Any other? I mean, it's one of those things. I guess I don't know if this is going to be now more the norm of calling apostles outside of general conference, but I don't know. I kind of like it.
Yeah,
Uh,
that seems to be the thing now. I'm
yeah.
curious if they're gonna do that with temples now
Right.
as
Yeah.
well. Because I don't know, Elder Oak seemed the way he alluded to it just seemed like it's like, "Oh, President Nelson loved to announce them at the end of conference."
Mhm.
We're not gonna do that right now, though.
Yeah. And
So I don't know
I
if that was just said because they were in an interregnum and
right.
so there wasn't they're like, "Ah, we'll wait till we have a prophet to keep going with this,"
Yeah.
or if they're kinda shifting. I would be really happy if they had like a once a year thing where they provided a little update like they do in the World Report and then announce the new temples
Yeah.
as kind of its own little like devotional almost.
Yeah.
Little 30-minute, have a song by a choir,
Yeah. Because I
give the
feel like
updates, give the announcements.
at the beginning of President Nelson's, tenure as prophet, there was sort of this, like, each conference there was something new, and it almost became a distraction to conference and be like, oh, well, the announcements are over. Now they're just talking about the gospel of Jesus Christ, like, where
Whatever.
now, like the more, I think then they shifted to where they almost like Friday afternoons, they were just like dropping stuff, right? I think like the youth age change and I don't know, a
Mhm,
few other
mhm.
things where I kind of like that, where it's like, yeah, hits the news. We can kind of talk about it, process it for a week, and then we move on rather than it's general conference. What are your predictions? Now, when somebody asks me, like, what are your general conference predictions? I'm like, that doesn't happen in general conference anymore. Like, it just,
Yeah.
like, maybe we could guess temples, but at this point now, it's like, I wouldn't even guess a temple. So hopefully we've moved on. And I kind
Mhm.
of like that. Like, let's just have general conference be general conference and do announcements elsewhere. But so,
I do think the temples should get like I'm just imagining like when I served in Sierra Leone and then President Nelson announced it at conference because it was like, oh, is it going
uh-huh.
to happen? Is it going to happen? And you kind of think that for several and then it does happen and you're it's like, wow,
Got it.
I think that's a lot more of like a moment for them and like an
Yeah.
achievement, if especially if it's not, you don't have one close and it's a big deal for you,
Yeah.
than to just like someone on their phone and be like, "Oh, did you see this?" And, "Oh, did you see? Oh, did it?" And you
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
really
That's true.
participate in it all
Yeah.
together
Yeah.
like that.
Because we're
So
kind of at a focused state, right? We're all watching a
yeah.
conference, and we all find out together. So, all right, you're winning me over there. That's good. That's good. Um, so we'll come back to Tim Ballard, but how about the AI conference? Church won't use AI to create images of Jesus Christ or conference talk. So there it says
Mhm.
Elder Garrett Gong of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles addressed boundaries around artificial intelligence use during the Organized Intelligence Conference in Salt Lake City on November 5th. He announced that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints will not use AI to create images of Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ, nor to replicate the voices of church leaders. Additionally, General Conference speakers are instructed not to use AI to create drafts or versions of their addresses, as messages must be divinely inspired. What do you think of this? AI,
I
this
Yeah, I
being
think
introduced in the gospel.
the short headline made it seem like they're just not going to use AI at all for conference talks.
Uh-huh.
But when you drill down and see that they're not going to use it to write them, that makes a lot more sense. And I think some people might be getting a little bit of the wrong message from this, because AI as a glorified search engine is awesome. Like
Right.
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I was just like for research for the stuff I do for, oh my gosh, like if I remember something like a conference talk, but I only got like a little bit of the quote and I
Yeah.
don't have when it was from, I just remember who said it and kind of what they said. I just type that in and it pulls it up. Or if I'm like, there's that one scripture and I type it in and it just gives it to me. And you can't do that with Google. So I'm pretty sure using AI for that, like I went to put this thing in my talk, but I don't know where to find it, or I'm trying to search for some sort of event in early church history, a pioneer story to add, something like that.
Hmm.
It sounds like they're totally fine to use AI for that kind of thing, for like search capabilities,
Right.
just not generating the content itself.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that totally makes sense to me.
Yeah. I kind of feel like, I feel like we kind of have to say these things at the beginning, but we violate some of these same principles with technology that's a little bit older. And I guess one debate I hear going on since the Come Follow Me was released, during COVID, and then all these YouTube channels popped up to help you study Come Follow Me, and then it became sort of as I've had opportunity to communicate with other content creators who do Come Follow Me, it sort of became taboo. Like, oh, if you're just listening to a Come Follow Me podcast, like you're doing it wrong, right? Like, oh, well, okay, like what do you mean by that, right? As if like if you don't have like paper scriptures on a big oak desk in a quiet morning, and you're like have your red pencil that you're sharpening, and you're like, if you're not doing that, you're not studying the scriptures. I'm like, but 30 years ago, if we could have had this technology, if we were this connected, I think or we would go to institute classes and some scholar or expert or teacher would kind of talk at us like a Come Follow Me channel, and that was okay. But now it's like, no, 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 like you can't just listen to a podcast in order to study the scriptures. I'm just like, well, why? Like if I feel uplifted and I'm learning something, and it does orient me to the scriptures, like, hey, win, 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 right? But people are just like, no, I can't do that, right? And so with AI, I'm sort of like, I get it. Like, I don't want Elder Bednar being like, here's all my journals and random thoughts I've had about this. Now write me a general conference talk, and he goes and reads it. However, like Elder Bednar has talked about how he's used AI to understand what sort of the tone of his talks and things like that. So I get that. But at the same time, I don't know. I sometimes wonder if the traditional model of like standing at a lectern and reading a talk that you wrote, like, is that the best way to reach deeper knowledge, right? And again, setting aside my deep belief of prophets and inspiration and keys and all that thing, but if I can grasp the deeper level of the mysteries of heaven and of God and the cosmos because of AI, like I don't see the problem with leaning into that. But I don't know. What thoughts come to mind?
Yeah, I think we agree. I
Yeah.
don't think I disagree with anything you're saying. I
Yeah.
think you're just thinking about like a different aspect of it. But you're
Yeah.
totally right on the Come Follow Me podcast thing. Like there's the cringe on the side of I only listen to those things and I'm always telling other people what somebody on a podcast said
Uh-huh.
from Come Follow Me. There's that, and that's kind of a problem in some ways, although it's definitely not the worst thing that a person could do is listen to too many Come Follow Me
Right.
podcasts.
Yeah.
Then on the other side is people who they go even farther than what you said. They're like they're inherently bad. Like
Mhm.
they shouldn't exist, kind of a thing for Come Follow Me podcasts. And it's like all they are is Sunday school recorded with microphones, basically,
Uh-huh.
except with PhDs from BYU as guests. Like
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
what about this is there some sort of special force field in the Sunday school class that makes it a productive discussion, but then if you try to record one outside, like it doesn't work somehow, it's no longer spiritually productive. Like
Mhm.
that just doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I think people take it both ways.
Yeah. Some of the worst like false doctrine is actually perpetuated within the walls of Sunday school. You know
It's
what I mean?
true,
Like,
and probably could be corrected by Come Follow Me
yeah,
podcast if
exactly.
people
Where it's
listen
like,
to them.
if we listen to John and Hank a little bit more, maybe we'll actually correct some of these things. But so, anyways, and I appreciate it. Like, I don't know, I don't necessarily have a problem with the church created images of Heavenly Father or Jesus. I mean, obviously, I don't want them to have 6 fingers or something, but and then also, I mean, yeah, if they replicated the church leader's voice, that'd be a little odd. Like, not only did AI write this talk, but AI is actually going to read it
It's
in
gonna
Elder
read it,
Bednar's
yeah.
voice. Like, that'd be weird. But um, I don't know. I just feel like this AI technology is like such an infantile state that it's like in 5 years we'll look back on some of these things that we're saying and be like, oh, yeah, right. Like we had no idea what was coming at that point, you know. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Could be wrong. Could be wrong.
People definitely think it's better than it is, though.
Yes.
Like, "Hey, Grok, is this true? Hey, ChatGPT, analyze." It's like, no, it doesn't know anything. It can't analyze. It can only give you information or do something like make your sentence have better punctuation. So,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that. Write code for you. But in terms of like collecting information and systematizing it and analyzing, is it more likely that the Book of Mormon is true than not true? It's like, no, it's like it can't do that. It's not a superhuman. It
Yeah.
forgets what you're trying to I tried to have it write some code for me, which did work, and it was something I couldn't do by myself. I
Mhm.
had to be reminding it of things that we had just talked about like 6 messages ago in the conversation, and it kept like making the same mistakes, just completely stupid stuff that like even a 5-year-old wouldn't do. The 5-year-old wouldn't know how to follow out the instructions and write the code, but at least they'd be able to follow what you were trying to tell them. Chat couldn't do that for me. And it was like the paid, updated, most recent model of chat.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be able to analyze, is the Book of Mormon true for you or not?
Yeah, for sure.
That's not what it can do, you guys.
Yeah. Where I would say, and I've used this for like different talks or things I've done or articles I've written where, for example, I would have no problem if a general authority wrote a conference talk and then said, hey, like, ask AI, read over this and tell me all the scriptures I may be leaving out. And it will probably give you 20 scriptures, right? And
Hmm,
that general
hmm.
authority could go through those 20 scriptures and be like, oh, this one and that one and the other. Like I could work those in here. Now it's a stronger experience, right? But did AI write that? Well, no, he just
No.
shrunk his research that
Hmm.
it took to do that, right? So I kind
Or
of feel
even
like,
going back to the Elder Bednar thing, you could use AI to search through all this stuff that I've given you that like I've produced in the past
mhm,
and pull out like maybe they want to quote themselves, if they're a general authority that's been there for 30 years and they're like, I remember talking about this one time in the
yeah,
past. And so if they want to go back and find that and use it again or use it as inspiration again, it's way easier to find it with
yeah,
AI
so true,
these days.
so true. All right, I feel like we're giving ourselves whiplash here, but you've commented about the Tim Ballard saga over the years, even when it dropped. I think Word Radio
Hmm.
did a lot of content around it, and so you're well familiar with it. Um, and I don't know, maybe I mean, at this point, it's sort of like he's just in the corner screaming, and let's just pretend like he's not there. I don't know, but it's to me, it's more complicated situation than because it's easy for us to be like we're characterizing that person as something he's excommunicated. He did these bad things. he's dead to us. Let's not even pretend he's there. Or I don't know. Is there something more there? What's your current thought on the status of the Tim Ballard saga?
I think it makes sense to just kind of ignore him.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well,
as
not on this
yeah,
episode, Luke.
I know.
But
We do
because
need to talk about it a little bit.
well, because he is becoming more and more public about his excommunication. Um, and so he made a video yesterday basically saying, the church is part of the problem, or people in the church. He says basically saying things like, I love the church, but there's things, how did he frame it? Like, we all love this, but there's things you hate that are in this. Anyways, so is there anything else to say? I mean, it seems like he's in a desperate position of, because he needs the attention to do the work that he's doing. And he comes across to me like, I feel like he sincerely believes what he's doing is what God wants him to do, and bless his heart, go do it. But that takes funding, and to gather funding, you need some awareness. And so he's trying to stay in the spotlight as much as he
Mhm.
can. But I don't know if it's working. It's sort of just sad to watch.
Yeah, it's very conspiratorial and not a lot of like, if he gets accused of fairly serious things, this seem to have extremely good evidence behind them now.
Mm-hmm.
He he it's just kind of like the people that are trying to oppress him are coming up with this stuff, and it gets like deeply conspiratorial. I get very concerned when people go deep into like the conspiracy aspect of like the Book of Mormon. Like, oh, like if you actually believe the Book of Mormon, you'd believe in these secret combinations.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Yeah.
well, the people in the Book of Mormon all knew about the secret combinations. Like, we don't have any deep state Nephite government that nobody knew about that was secretly controlling anything. Like, that's not the secret combinations. It was the bad guys out in the wilderness that were conspiring, that people knew at the time were conspiring. And so,
Yeah.
so it just seems like a cover that anytime you can't explain anything, it's like, well, that's just further proof of how deep the conspiracy is.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
okay, well,
Yeah. Then it just
at
perpetuates.
what point does this stop? Like, what's the limiting principle to this? It just keeps going and going and going. And
Yeah.
the less evidence there is, the further proof it is that it's true.
Yeah.
But if there is any evidence, then that's also proof that it's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess in a parallel universe, like, what's the best path that Tim Ballard could have taken? Like, okay, he just like owns it, totally messed up, and especially being a former bishop and being in several of these membership councils. Like, the one thing I one of the big lessons I came out of that church leadership was, like, never underestimate what good people can do so wrong. Like, I sat
Mhm.
down with individuals who I thought were like just the salt of the earth, like hadn't even, gotten a speeding ticket, and have them open up about things that they'd done. I'm like, wow, like I would have never guessed. Right. So I'm always reminding myself, like, never underestimate just how bad, of what people can do, just because they appear like they're solid. Um, but I think Tim Ballard, and I would kind of be in this case too, of like, I don't think he knows like how to do anything else, right? Like, so in a parallel universe, he
Mhm.
like owns it, is repentant. Yep, let's just get this. I'm going to focus on my marriage and my family. We're going to rally. We're going to move on. And what he's going to be like some middle manager for like a Silicon Slopes company. I don't think he
Uh-huh.
knows how to function in society. And I don't know if me, I've done content creation full time for so long that if I had to step away from whatever platforms I've created, I'd be like, I don't like, because I've been focused and day to day on something I'm so passionate about. And now I have to like go work for, such and such company. Like, I don't know. That would be a tough transition. Right. And so I feel for the guys,
Mhm.
because I don't think he knows how to do anything else in life other than go save the kids, and a valiant effort. Right. Like, bless your heart for trying, but maybe like take a decade off. And I don't know. It's tough. Interesting to watch, unfortunately. So,
Mhm.
anything else about Tim Ballard you want to say, or shall you never
Uh,
speak his name
I
again?
I don't think so.
All right, all right. Um, was it the you mentioned a few stories you want to touch on? Was it the FBI confirms the Michigan church shooter motive? Is that? Tell us
Yes, I
about that.
think yeah, I think that's something that needs to be remembered is that like the FBI confirmed it was actually anti-Mormon hate and rhetoric and sentiment that led this guy to do what he did. Of course, that doesn't I want to be very careful like that doesn't implicate everybody who's ever made a critical video of the church in the shooting. Um, However, it does kind of point this as like, hey, this actually is a thing that can happen,
Mhm.
did happen, might happen again. And so if you are saying true things online and you're trying to like if you think the church is bad and you actually firmly believe that and you're making videos about that in a responsible manner, then okay, that's fine. But you at least should kind of check yourself and make sure that that's what you're doing and not just because some of these people, like the amount of money that some of them make off of this kind of stuff, and the I'm kind of referencing a specific person here, and the level of intellect that the criticisms have, um, maybe those kind of people should reconsider, or members should just kind of be aware that that kind of stuff is out there and that it can lead to these kind of things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I totally agree. And because there is this feeling of, people may say, and maybe the individual or platform we're referencing here is like, what? We don't talk about anything negative about the church. We just want to help people. And next up on the episode is a cult expert. Like, wait a minute. Like, what? You're talking about cults, but then you're saying you're not being critical or harmful, or it's just like when I step back and look at this image, what you're saying is not true, right? And they're just the lack of self awareness is sometimes very frustrating, right? So
yeah.
hopefully this is like, and again, the FBI confirms it's like, well, no duh, Sherlock. Like, of course it was, but
Well,
I
I
think
think
it's
some
important
people
for
were
these
trying to
processes.
say like the initial posts of it were like, "Oh no, Christianity's under attack again," which like thank you for saying that we're Christians, but like from all accounts the guy at least was professing to be a Christian. Obviously
Yeah,
didn't seem to act like it, but was professing that and then went after something that he deemed to be not a part of that.
yeah,
It's so not a part of it that it needed to be met with violent force. And I'm not saying that these were like rational. He heard his pastor, and that was the
right.
logical conclusion that he came to. He was obviously mentally not all the way there, not all the way well, but you know, you gotta notice where these things are going.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe instead of calling people demonic, you can say, I disagree with them. Like maybe that's a little bit healthier of a language.
Or at least hedge it a little bit, like
Yeah.
saying, in my opinion,
Right. Yeah.
not just
Yeah.
like clearly, unequivocally,
Yeah.
100% it's demonic.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Um, all right. So this may be like one of the first President Oak's administration changes is that the first presidency Christmas devotional is to be pre-recorded. Is this news, Luke, or is this just silly? Does this mean anything? Is this a shift?
I Is there gonna be an audience still?
It says the first presidency announced plans for the 2025 Christmas devotional schedule on December 7th, marking a significant change from previous years. Unlike past devotionals, this year's broadcast will not be a live ticketed event open to the public. Instead, the program was pre-recorded in Salt Lake on the set of the church's Savior of the World production.
So that part is cool.
Yeah,
That part is cool.
make it more of
It
a
would be
production
sad if
rather
they
than
took
talking.
away, like, an actual audience event,
Yeah,
though. Maybe it's, like, a one-time thing, though. They
yeah,
wanted to
it
do
could
a
be.
special thing on the set,
President
and
Oaks is like,
then
listen, guys, I just need I need some breathing room here. I can't prepare a talk in time for Christmas. Just trying to get going here. But
That's
yeah,
true.
that's the thing is we have such a deep tradition of like the general conference cadence, right? Which I love every 6 months. Love it. But it's sort of like anytime we hear from a church leader, it's like it's got to be correlated and like scripted and which is fine, but maybe to me it's more of like what if we because I typically go to like the Tabernacle Choir Christmas concert every year and it's incredible. It's beautiful. It's I mean the music and the guest speakers and I love it, right? And what if they
Mhm.
work more of that kind of feel into the Christmas devotional rather than oh we get to hear like a conference talk with a little bit of a Christmas twist,
Mhm.
So
Totally.
we'll see. And there is the I think it mentions like the 39 languages. I think translation. There's all those technicalities of it,
That's
which
true. Yeah.
complicated that we don't see right on this side of the curtain. I think
Mhm.
that played a lot into the, back in the day, they had a few conferences where people could speak their native language or give their talk in their native
Yeah.
language, which was
Uh-huh.
cool. But then you think, so what does translation do with that? Because you can't find people who speak, German and English if we just have one core language, then the translation's easier. But anyways, it kind of gets
Mhm.
complicated that way. But um, cool. Well, at least they're having a Christmas devotional, so the tradition carries
It's
on.
true.
Carries on. I'll just go through a few of these here. Let me know if any of them pique your interest. Burley, Idaho Temple Open House is open for public tours, so that's happening. Do you ever travel for a temple open house?
Travel, not really. I mean, other than Saratoga Springs when we lived in Provo.
Oh yeah, right.
It's like 30 minutes
Or if
or less,
let's
probably.
see, isn't Houston getting a temple soon? I mean, that could be a quick jaunt for
Yeah,
you.
it is, recently put on the docket, so that will be a number of years. I'm definitely gonna travel for Salt Lake, though.
Oh yeah,
Like, no way I'm missing that.
yeah, that's gonna be awesome. That's gonna be awesome. Yeah, so the Burley, Idaho Temple is open. Worldwide devotional for young adults, Elder Anderson. This is kind of the typical thing. What about? Let's see. Did you want to say something about? Was it the Temple Square renovation, or is that something
Oh,
else?
did I? No,
I
I
thought you
think I
gave me
did.
that.
I think I did. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It says, tower crane dismantled. I guess I already kinda started talking about that. I'm really I've been following like, when they put out the videos of how they're doing it, what they've done so far, like, whenever I see one of those videos, I just click on it, and
You're
I
all in.
really hope that we get, like, a documentary, like, an hour and a half, or at least an hour or something, like, documentary
Yeah.
with all this footage they took with other B-roll that kinda gets put into a whole thing, because it was, like, and it wouldn't necessarily be like a devotional piece of content. You'd almost use it more as an evangelical tool of the people who like to watch, because there's videos out there. There's videos with 500,000 views, 1,000,000 views about like how they built the Golden Gate Bridge,
Oh
how
yeah.
the Colosseum was built, all this kind of stuff. And so, we have a really cool thing that we just did
Yeah.
architecturally, engineering wise. And so I
Yeah.
think it'd be a good idea to like you kind of boost that up, put some production budget into it, like they've already been doing with the videos that they've been putting out, and kind of cast it as like, look at this super cool thing that we were able to do with the temple and all the engineering and stuff that went into it. And then you have a little bit at the end of, and this is because of Jesus, and learn more kind of thing. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
I
think.
think it'd be just an interesting video for just kind of a normal person. If you're in a conversation with someone at work and you both have a passion for really cool engineering feats, be like, bro, like check out what my church just did last year, and then show them that video. Like
And they
that's what
could
I think
call it.
about it.
They
But
could
I'm
call
excited
it.
for it to be open again.
It could be titled "The Mountain of the Lord Part 2." So yeah, get the
There you
same
go.
actors. They're probably dead, but um, yeah, I agree. So someone needs to tie all that together. Get a a what do you call those? A fund together. People can contribute for the Mountain of the Lord Part 2 documentary. So be awesome. There's kind of this random funny story. Maybe Tiffany has this segment called Mormons Behaving Badly. This would fit into it well. It is, I'm finding it. Here it is. Nope, that's more. A former employee alleges aggressive LDS conversion pressure at Omni's Global Technologies. So it says a former vice president of government relations at Omni's Global Technologies filed a lawsuit in October alleging she was aggressively pressured to convert to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter day Saints by the company's owner and senior executives, many of whom are LDS members. The plaintiff reports frequent religious discussions, LDS prayers at business meals, and repeat efforts to involve her in church activities despite expressing discomfort with religion at work. She also alleges sex discrimination, including inappropriate comments and unequal treatment compared to male or LDS colleagues. The plaintiff claims retaliation after confronting the owner about the potentially false grant applications and an inappropriate advance leading to her termination. This is like the people's court, Luke. Like, All right, what's
Yeah.
your who's telling the truth here? What do you think?
That's a lot of accusations to just kind of like spit out there. Like, well, they like invited me to too many things, and then they were talking about their religion in the workplace too much. They were praying at their meals, but then it like escalated all the way up to like unwanted advances and illegal grants, and
Yeah.
I don't know what to believe, man.
I know that's the thing
I
is
kind
like
of have some doubts though.
I want to be like, oh man, these executives were off their rockers. Like Latter-day Saints shouldn't be like that. But then you're like, well, I don't know. Or
Well, yeah,
maybe you just like go ahead.
it's like if you're the type of person that gets bothered by people praying
Right.
over their food at work with other people who are of the same faith as them, like I don't know, just lead out with the false grants and the unwanted advances. Like don't
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
don't
yeah.
don't start off with just all this vanilla like I get annoyed that people are religious around me stuff
Yeah.
before getting to the actual serious things. It
Yeah.
makes me take the serious stuff not very seriously.
Yeah. Makes you do want to see kind of that the two-part movie of like her side, dramatized and then their side, and where it's like, I was just like reading my scriptures on my lunch break, and she walks in and says, "Stop forcing your religion on me." I'm like, I'm just, but I don't know. And I
Yeah.
have been a part of some companies where it's like, and I'm in Utah County, so it's sort of like, guys, can we like, I mean, we don't have to pretend like we're at church right now. Like, can we just, not that I want to be, vile or anything terrible. I'm just like, can we just be at work and look at spreadsheets and stuff? But anyways, of course, I don't know how to work
Mhm.
for a company, so I may never know. All right, did we cover it all? I think I'll throw out the Luz de las Naciones celebrates 100 years in South America, so they're going to have a whole event. I think it's this weekend, maybe. Elder Bednar was teaching about priesthood authority at Provo MTC. Can you believe it? The conspiracy.
Crazy.
Um, Elder Razban's ministry and reunions in Kenya. So I think Elder Razban had a lot of his time as a 70 in Africa. So he is. Did you? Because you served in Africa, right?
I did serve in Africa, yeah.
Ever run across Elder
I
Renlund?
was in West Africa, so it's a
Okay,
different area, but
gotcha.
the guy we had come to us was Elder Stevenson on a mission tour. That was the one that I met.
Nice, very cool.
Yep.
And if you want to know what the church is doing in 2026, you can find out because they released their broadcast calendar and key events. So guess what?
Actually, they're going to have general conference next October. I saw.
No way.
So
Like,
that's
what are the
yeah.
chances?
Yeah,
Maybe
like the first weekend, I think. Yeah.
maybe April as well. Who would have thought? Yeah, interesting. Scottish Parliament address by Dundee Stake President. I'll link to that if you want to dig in. We talked about the Temple Square, minor adjustments to Doctrine Covenant study helps. Have you heard about this? It seems like something you'd have your pulse on.
I only saw it, but it seems mostly like the headers and stuff. They kind of added more
Yes.
historical context to some things, which is
And
always helpful.
was it related to Section 132? Like, was it around plural marriage? I want to say. I think there's like this. The church history department sort of being like, let's just make these tweaks to hopefully quiet down the noise about.
A rock in a hard place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Linden, Utah temple dedication and open house dates announced. So this is another one I can travel to, just 30 minutes down the freeway. So that's in April of 2026, March 12th through April 11th. So the temples are going up. Anyways, I think we
Nice.
covered it. Luke, this has been fantastic. Thank you for
Yeah. Thank you.
teaming up with me. Love to have you back, or I'll even give you your own slot. You can come on here once a month and bring your people, and I don't know, whatever you want. But I appreciate the
Sweet.
feedback and the thoughts. Anything else? Maybe give us one more reminder where to find you online.
Yes. Doctrine Governance is the YouTube channel, Luke F. Han on X. And the debate that's coming up that I'm helping prep and that I will be at is the 19th of December, 7 p.m., somewhere in Draper at a Catholic church.
Nice.
But Jacob
19th of
Hansen's channel will have
December
that.
or November?
December.
Okay. All right. So it'll be a festive one for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Plenty of time to plan for it.
Love it.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great.
All right. Well, everybody listening, if you have any concerns or thoughts on some T. Ballard figure, you can go to contact at thisweekinmormons.com and we'll read your stuff online and respond to you. And join us next week. Different co-hosts, but same great Latter-day Saint news. See ya.